Welcome back to part 2 of this my video presentation titled The Mystic Philosopher's Perspective on the Cyclic Journey called Life. Let me quickly recap some of the main points that I talked about in part 1 or in video 1 of this presentation and ask that you please bear in mind as I continue in this part 2. I highlighted in part 1 from my perspective the fact from my perspective that life, or the thing that we call life, is made up of everything. Or if you prefer, life is made up of all that we in our human condition can think of. Things that are both visible and invisible, physical and non-physical, or physical and metaphysical. For as long as we can conceive it, as long as we can perceive it, imagine it, believe it, doubt it, think about it, talk about it, or experience it, etc., then it is all, from my perspective, a part of the thing that we call life. I highlighted and talked from my perspective the fact that we all see and experience things, or experience this thing called life, from our own individual angle of observation. Angle of observation that I call our individual perspective. And that our angle of observation or perspective is our individual right angle. And if or when we should understand this fact, then we may realize that we are all right. I highlighted from my perspective the fact that the words wonder and wonderful are synonymous with the word life, and that they can, or that they may be used interchangeably. I highlighted again from my perspective the fact that I, the Mystic Philosopher, describe life as being wonderful, meaning it is full of wonders, wanderers, and wondering possibilities. This also include that which is called impossibilities. I highlighted from my perspective the fact that we in our human condition are the product of the thing we call life, or to say it another way, we are the product of wonder. Therefore, we are all wanderers. I highlighted the fact from my perspective that we do not know nothing, and that we really don't know anything, and possibly we cannot really know anything at all. And that scientists and the scientific community, along with their adherents, regardless of how revered they are, maybe the truth be known, they too are wanderers, speculators. They too are just thinkers, theorists, assumers, assumptionists. I add the IST to that one. Guess-perts. Doesn't matter whether it's, as they will tell you, they make educated guess. They are guess-perts, etc. Just like the rest of us all. Above all, we all do and will all suffer the same fate. And the wise man Solomon did say that. I highlighted the fact from my perspective that we can, or we may only think we know for without thinking. We may only think we know, for without thinking, what do we know? Without thinking, how do we know that we know? And without thinking, how do we know that we don't know? I don't know. Do you? And among all the other things that I talked about in part 1 of this presentation, which I will again humbly ask that you please watch before you watch this part 2, is that from my perspective, it is possible that the thing called life is a journey, and a cyclic journey that has no end. Meaning it just keep cycling on and on through that which we called eternity. Now, like most, if not all journeys on this plane of existence, there are slopes along the way. There are hills and there are valleys. There are inclines and declines. There are ups and there are downs. There are pleasures and there are sufferings. There is justice and there is injustice. There are opposites, and in between there are good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent, and so forth and so on. But as we journey along this life's ups and down, life's rugged and smooth pathway, we will find that our journey can, and that our journey will, be much more pleasurable if we would move at the most calm, healthy, relaxing, and the most comfortable and stress-free pace. Our life's experiences on this plane could or would be much more pleasurable, more satisfying, if and when we are able to synchronize our steps with the natural rhythm and the harmonious principles of our source and mother nature. Life's experiences could be much more pleasurable, much more pleasing and enjoyable, much more enchanting and delightful. Life's experiences could be much more graceful and satisfying if and when we are able to simply take life's journey one breath at a time. Take life's journey one heartbeat at a time. One step at a time. One meal at a time. One mouthful at a time. One bite at a time. And above all, one day at a time. Consciously do so. My dearly beloved mother, my dearly beloved and late mother, peace be upon her memory and her soul, a great and very wise and great and very remarkable woman of very little formal education, but she was a woman of a vast reservoir of practical knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom that she had gained through some very harsh and difficult experiences in her lifetime. On several occasions, she reminded me of the process that she had observed and the life lessons that she had learned from watching builders building houses. She would refer to the fact that in order for a builder to roof a house, he or she must first lay a solid foundation. And thereupon he or she must build the structure of the house. One building block at a time. Or she would say one brick at a time. In order for the builder to climb on a ladder to the top or to the roof of the house, he or she must also very carefully and patiently take one step at a time. She would also place emphasis on the fact that should the builder and climber attempt to take more than one step at a time to get to the top, then he or she would not only run the risk of falling and possibly hurting him or herself, but he or she could also hurt others while falling. In other words, the hastiness of one careless individual could cause much serious injuries, pain, suffering, miseries, and possible evil death to many others that are innocent. Another phrase that she often uses is that haste make waste. So if you take time and do things. From my perspective, brothers and sisters, my friends and watchers, and the way that I see things from where I am looking at them, most of us humans, and particularly those of us that are the natural, native, earthly humans today, are trapped in the system's rat race. And what do I mean by the system's rat race? I mean the system's erroneous ideologies of progress and success. The system's erroneous ideologies of progress and success that our natural, native, earthly human minds have been inculcated with and is indoctrinated by the system. It is the elusive dream of wanting to be so-called successful. Thereby we are forever chasing and pursuing dreams. We are forever chasing and pursuing dreams without knowing, without realizing, or without ever coming to the understanding of the truth that it is, or that it was only a dream. And that in order to be dreaming, we must be either in a trance or we must be sleeping. And that just like the ever rapidly expanding universe, that which we are chasing as our dreams, or that which we are pursuing in our dreams, are always running further and further away from us. And that it is impossible, let me repeat, that it is impossible to be successful. Because when we are awakened from our dreams, it is without that which we were chasing. And that which we thought we have achieved in our dreams. Once we are awakened from that dream, then we realize that it was just a dream. According to the free Wikipedia encyclopedia, a rat race, and I quote, a rat race is a term used for an endless, self-defeating, or pointless pursuit. It conjures up the image of the futile efforts of a lab rat that is trying to escape whilst running around a maze or in a wheel, unquote. That's a rat race. You're going nowhere. From my perspective, we humans are moving through life, or moving along life's pathway, much too fast. We always seem to be in a hurry, always in a rush. We're in a hurry to go to work, we're in a hurry to go to bed, we're in a hurry to go to sleep, we're in a hurry to make love, even to have sex, we're in a haste. We are moving much too fast, always in a rush. Like a frantic maxed-out Olympic runner on a treadmill. We are moving much too fast without realizing that we are going nowhere. Nowhere is where we all came from in the first place to begin. And there, nowhere, is where we must and where we will all return. Right now, we are here. Or at the very least, we think that we are here. And by the way, where is here? Have you ever asked yourself, where is here? Is here somewhere that we all can point to? And from where would we point? And in which direction can we point that is not here? Have you ever thought about this and asked yourself these questions? Well, I, the Mystic Philosopher, have. And I submit to you, my friends, that that which we call here is in the middle of nowhere. Case in point, some of us believe and teach that the universe as we think we know it began with a creation approximately 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Others believe and teach that it began with a big bang some 10 to 20 or more billion years ago. Now, my question to you is this: where did this creation or this big bang took place? Again, I will submit that if at all there was a creation some 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, or if at all there was a big bang some 10 to 20 billion years ago, it had to have taken place in the middle of nowhere. And not only that, my friends, but we all had to have been there, or else how would we have known? And where else could we have been? Here is a similar question that has been sincerely asked by some of the best minds for centuries. And I quote, "If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound?" From I, the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, here only became known as here when we got here and became aware while we are on our way to and from nowhere. It is because most of us are conned by the system and others into moving so fast, going there, that we are not even noticing that we are now here and that we are all going nowhere. You see, there, nowhere, now here, somewhere, over there, right here, everywhere, and anywhere has the same one thing in common. And that is here. Everywhere is here. In other words, they are all here. It is all here. Have you ever taken notice of the fact that if or when we slow down and become more intimate and acquainted with our natural environment, or we could say that when we become more aware of being part of our physical world, have you ever noticed how the quality of our lives is improved? And how our appreciation for our every breath may be enhanced? For example, when we go for an early morning walk around the block where we may live, maybe up the trail, along the lake, the beach, or on or in the park, you name it. Have you ever noticed how our body and our mind are rejuvenated and how we feel good and re-energized? And if we slow down and listen carefully, we may hear the water falls as it gently rushes against the smooth rocks in the street. We may hear the gentle sounds of the melting snow as it reflects the rays of the brilliant sunlight. We may hear the whistling sounds of the breeze as it wrestles with the branches and the leaves of the trees. We may hear the whistling sounds. We may hear the buzzing sounds of the bees and the beehives, the twittering, the chirping, the melodious songs of the birds simultaneously and in symphony with the sounds of insects. Have you ever noticed? If we slow down and look carefully, we may see and observe the rhythm of the dancing trees as they move and steadily rock to the mystical vibration or to the mystic vibrations of Mother Nature's wind. We may be able to experience a natural high from nature's intoxicating smell of ripened, fermenting and decaying wild fruits and berries laying peacefully on the ground. We may even be able to smell the fresh and territorial scents of wild animals, like the squirrels, the skunks, the rabbits, the raccoons, the goats, the cows, the horses, the mules, the donkeys, the deer, you name them. We may be able to better appreciate and enjoy Mother Nature's four seasons, like the noticeable heat and long days of summer, the falling rain and colorful leaves on the trees of autumn, the frozen creeks, ponds, and lakes, and all the other outdoor wonders of winter. We may be able to experience the fresh morning dew on the grass, the early morning wind of spring as it gently blows against our face, along with the sweet-smelling fragrance of some of nature's wild flowers and the awe-inspiring blossoms of the fruit trees. We may even hear someone saying to us, "Good morning," "Good evening," "Good day," or we might even be able to help someone in distress and once again experience the effects of kindness and the ecstatic thrills and thank you we get from our Mother Nature for doing good and helping others in need. You name it. In other words, by simply slowing down and taking one step at a time, we might be able to reactivate at least our basic 5 physical senses of listening and hearing, smelling and tasting, seeing and touching well. Again, we might begin to enjoy the journey, this cycle most of us call life. We might be able to enjoy the experiences, the lessons and the ups and the downs as we travel along the pathway of life going nowhere. We may have even noticed that sometimes when we increase our movement or speed by being in a hurry or in a haste, by running, driving, flying, motorcycling, speedboating, etc., that we might be missing out on the little things, the small but significant details that are the flavors and the spices of life. We might be missing out on those things that are here to add real quality, real value, real virtue, and variety to our lives, our journey, our cycle, thereby making it much more tasteful, much more bearable, much more enjoyable, and much more pleasurable. A 13th century Christian mystic by the name of Mr. Eckhart has this to say about the present moment called the now. He said, and I quote, "There exists the present instant." Sorry, let me repeat. There exists only the present instant, and now which always and without end is itself new. There is no yesterday nor any tomorrow, but only now, as it was 1,000 years ago and as it will be 1,000 years hence, unquote. My friends, the past, or that which we call the past, is also that which we called memories. And we can only think of and experience the memories of that which we call the past in the here and the now, or in the present moment. That which we call the future is something that we can only imagine here in the present moment. In the here, in the now. Everything is happening in the here and in the now. So let us therefore create our reality here and now. Remember, as long as we are conscious, as long as we are aware that we are here, we are going nowhere. So might as well we just slow down and enjoy the ride from here to there, which is nowhere. One of my basic philosophies, and one that works extremely well for me, is to take one breath at a time. I have truly learned the significance of taking one breath at a time. As for this, I is concerned, life in the physical is lived and experienced within and between breaths. We say that to be alive in the flesh, we must inhale and exhale. To inhale means to inspire, and to exhale means to expire. Therefore, we are living and dying simultaneously. We are cycling all at the same time. For me personally, there is no guarantee that I will take the next breath, or that when I exhale the breath of life will return, or that I will inhale again. I know that I can only live, and that my journey can only continue here in the physical between breaths. Meaning between inhaling and exhaling, I live. And for this reason, I am an inspirational speaker. I live to inspire, and I also inspire to live. I do hope that I may have at least inspired you to slow down, smile, and take time and smell the rose, and take life's journey one step at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. I am the Mystic Philosopher. We are going nowhere. So take time and smell the rose. I am the Mystic Philosopher, and I will see you when you get here, for I am going nowhere. Thanks very much for your patience, for watching, and for listening. Slow down.